Hi there, it's Kevin with Gone Rogue Games here with a video finally. I haven't made videos on this channel or any of my channels since the coronavirus started just because I thought it'd be too much noise to add to, what's going on. But we've been in basically lockdown now for a couple days. We're actually going to start this official coronavirus lockdown advent calendar where our state has recommended at least 2 weeks all the way up to 30 days that they want stores, non-essential stores, to be locked down. So we are completely shut down for our store here, and I thought I'd just at least pass the time by making some content. So we're going to crack this terrible Harry Potter Pops calendar that they did give out for Christmas. Distributors after Christmas had some left over and just sent them to stores. Well, let's see what we get. We'll do this every day, and I'll do a topic. I don't know how well you enjoy these videos, but I'm just going to rant and rave and ramble about stuff. So anyway, here we have the Harry Potter Advent Calendar. And I guess you just, pop this, huh, Zach? Is that it?
Yeah, put your finger in there.
See what one we get. Oh, these are tiny. Who's this? That's Harry. So does it go in order?
I don't know.
That's got to be Harry, right?
Does he have a lightning bolt?
Good question. I can't see one, so maybe not.
Oh, no, I'd have to...
It's got glasses, though. But yeah, no lightning bolt.
I don't know. There's...
Oh, yeah, there is. I see. I'm chewing on stuff during coronavirus. Yeah, there's a lightning bolt. No, it looks like this sweat. Look at that. I don't know. Is there a lightning bolt there?
Yes, there's a
All right,
lightning
it's Harry.
bolt up in the
We got
top
Harry.
corner. If it wants to autofocus.
I won't.
It won't autofocus, but there he is.
I won't lie. I read every Harry Potter book. Didn't see all the movies, so the movies sucked, but I read every Harry Potter book. Anyway, the topic at hand, which I'm going to be switching up per day, is going to be kind of where I stand with Commander. I had this discussion with some of my patrons, then actually had a more in-depth discussion with one of my patrons, exactly why I've considered that I don't play Commander anymore. And there are a couple of reasons, mainly being that I think that a group that I would probably... You need a group to enjoy Commander with. I don't think Commander works that well with randoms as well as 1 versus 1 does. And I even mentioned that if I'm playing 1v1 in Commander or in just Magic, I don't mind going against players I can't stand because it just makes it that much more fun to crush them. But Commander, where it's supposed to be an enjoyment of the game, where you play some politics back and forth, where, that sort of stuff, I think you have to have the right type of group. And my type of group, back here, we play board games instead of Commander. I think that's so that they really compete for the same space or the same table space, or at least my time. So I used to love Commander. I used to love building decks, especially the brew part of Commander. And I actually had quite a few Commander decks. I've had probably 20 over my history of Magic, but I think today is a good time to say goodbye. I'm going to be downsizing Commander, and I'm going to show you some of them before I rip them apart and maybe start from scratch. I'm thinking of keeping 4 decks, one of each color except for white because white's trash, and then keep those just kind of monocolored. All the power levels of them are, I would say, low to mid range power level. None of them are like stacks or combo or anything like that. So, but anyway, the discussion is basically this: that Commander, I think the start of the Commander products was the death of Commander. When I started playing Commander, it was way before this store, and even way before I even moved back to Richfield. I played the first Commander, and Commander was all about taking a legendary creature that was not good in the current standard or modern environment and actually making it viable because it's a multiplayer format, it's a little bit slower. There was good mana bases at the time. There still was mana rocks and soul rings and stuff like that, but it wasn't pushed to the point that you had so many ways to ramp in every different color, and the mana base was just to perfection like it is now. And it also, the power level of Commander has just grown leaps and bounds. It's because of just how many new sets have... I think I started playing Commander in Dark Ascension was the first when I built Commander and played it. And there have been so many sets, of course, that have come out since then. A whole format called Pioneer has come out since then of all those sets. But we've also had the problem, and in my opinion, the final nail in the coffin was Commander 2019 for me. And I just don't like the Commander products. So if you look at Commander products, they seem to be pushed on power level every year. I know people have been disappointed from Commander 2018 and or 2019 especially, and I think it has more to do with the lack of actual valuable reprints and the terrible mana bases that people are like, I'd really like to pick up these for some reprints that I'm looking for and some new cards, and unfortunately all they've done is give us more of the push cards. I think my breaking point was sitting down at a table and playing against Kirk from the new Commander and just reading the card. I'd never really seen it. I mean, I remember looking at the Commander 2019 spoilers, and I was playing against a person whose deck wasn't even tuned, and I still died on turn number 3 with just how pushed the power level of Kirk was from the Commander 2019. So I think that has basically killed the Commander format as far as just pickup games and more of the casual games. It's very, very tough for a play group to agree on what's the right politics and power level and how you play it. In my opinion, it's just miserable. It's just people bickering. It's just people arguing about how to play Commander. If you actually played at a Grand Prix, that's probably my most miserable experience in Magic the Gathering, is actually sitting down to one of those competitive money queues that you play at the Grand Prix. So for a little bit of how that works is you pay like $5, you sit down at a table, and first and second are supposed to get points. I think even third is supposed to get more points than fourth. But you sit down at a table, and if someone combos off and wins, you're supposed to just keep on going. So I remember the 2 games that I played, someone won on turn number 3, and that was actually even through a counterspell that they won. And then the next turn, the guy that was just in different positioning, he comboed off on the next turn 4. So first place got one on turn 3, second place one on turn 4. Nobody was even trying to interact. It was just all about puking out their combos. And then I was stupid enough to join another one, and it was the exact same thing all over again. It was just degenerate combos. So unfortunately, I think that's the way the Commander's been pushed. I haven't been a fan of these new Commanders coming out. I guess that's where this topic was discussed, is if you can watch my Market Monday video today, I'll talking more on this topic. I know it's Tuesday. But I really feel that these Ikoria Commanders are in the same boat. We have a lot of these very, very push cards that are going to outclass everything that's going to come out of new and older sets for kind of the more creative Commanders you can choose from, and people are all going to be gravitating towards them. If you look at the top Commanders of all time, there are some exceptions like the Muldrotha from Dominaria and Yarok from Core 2020 that have become popular, but the vast majority of Commanders that are popular come out of the Commander set. So I almost feel like you're pushed into buying Commander sets to then play Commander, which I think is really, really bad for the format, and took away that sort of grassroots experience of taking kind of a trash card from Standard that just doesn't work in a 1 versus 1 environment and making it shine in a multiplayer environment. And that's kind of how I've gone with this, kind of how I've brewed with Commander. So I guess we can zoom in here and see. I'll just go through my history of kind of what I built and what I've liked about these Commanders, and then we will showcase some of these decks. So I would say my favorite Commander of all time is definitely Balthor the Defiled, and we're having the microphone falling off on us.
Give me a second here, and we'll get it set up.
We are professional here. All right, so this is kind of how I felt was fun about Commander, was taking some of these cards that going back from Judgment and be like, wow, this is a pretty cool. I wonder if I can, what potential this Commander could have if I brewed around. And I had a lot of fun with this. And in the future, I might still have fun with Commander. And one of the other problems is, since I've been brewing decks in Commander, is it feels like there's so much redundancy when I'm choosing new Commander, that there's so many of these staples that you have to play that have just outclassed. And a lot of these cards are more recent than earlier editions of Commander cards. So anyway, but Balthor the Defiled was this one has a particular special place in my heart because it led to a pretty decent deck. The power level of Balthor is actually really, really strong. This card is a ability of exiling Balthor the Defiled from the game, and each player returns black or red creatures from their graveyard to play. And so you can build a dredge reanimation strategy with Balthor. And the cool thing about Balthor, it's more than just a one-time use. Exiling it, you can choose where to put it, and it will still get its ability, so it goes back to the command zone as soon as it hits that exile zone, and you can just rinse and repeat for 3 mana to keep returning cards back from the graveyard. And we'll take kind of a look at Balthor. I probably will keep Balthor together, and it'll be, I guess, my strongest power level deck. that remains if I ever do want to just play a pickup game. I mean, I always accuse Magic players of, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. What I mean by that is we always have people that will get upset by a banned card or some sort of thing, and then they'll just like, I'm selling all my Magic cards and I'm getting out of Magic, or whatever reason. That this, being a store owner, you'll see it all the time. A lot of people that spent a lot of time, energy, money into a hobby, and then they just cold turkey it, and they're like, you're going to be back in 2 months. You're going to be back in a year. This is ridiculous, and then it's rinse and repeat. They keep doing this. So I'm going to try to avoid this personally with Commander, and keep some Commander decks, and then use this as just a time that clear my head with stuff, and maybe come back to the format. Got a couple of the cards that I brewed with in Oathbreaker, which I hope has a resurgence sometime. But a bunch of these are Oathbreaker cards in here. Had a lot of fun with Oathbreaker. Yeah, these are all Oathbreaker commanders. Wow, I'm really down on actual commanders left. So this is my black commander I'm going to be keeping as Balthor the Defiled. The blue one is going to be Thada Adel. Thada Adel is a really, really fun card to... This is a deck that I built to basically take my opponent's cards and use them against them. Since the commander is such a degenerate format with artifacts, that a card like Thada Adel to steal your opponent's specific artifacts, you can find 2-card combos all the time. And I actually built this deck when... I believe it was the Engine, which is now Paradox Engine was banned, and people would complain about me playing Paradox Engine in whatever deck, and so I'd play Thada Adel without a Paradox Engine in my own deck, and then steal one of my opponents, and then when they complained, it'd be like, hey, it's Bob's, it's not mine, I didn't put it in my deck, so if you're mad about my Paradox Engine coming off, blame Bob. And so I'm going to definitely keep Thada Adel. This is definitely one of my favorite commanders that ever brewed around. Again, it was taking a card that was pretty trashy in Standard and really having it find potential in the Commander format, which, really, really fun time with it. So next one that I'm going to keep for red is Atali. The same premises with Atali. Atali is probably my most popular commander that I have brewed with. And this is the same sort of concept that you're using your opponent's cards against them for when Atali attacks. Each player reveals the top card of the library, and you can cast all non-land cards. And so again, you can find some wonky combos off of using your opponent's cards against them. This is a particularly fun commander when there's 5 or 6 players. For the green, I'll have to find the green one. It's Jolrael, Empress of Beasts, but I don't know what happened to good old Jolrael. Maybe, there's Jolrael. It's just not in a hard case for whatever reason. So there is Jolrael, Empress of Beasts. This one was actually a random on EDH. You can actually hit the random commander, and this is kind of a challenge that I was going to build whatever one popped up, and Jolrael was actually a card that popped up, and this one actually ended up being a very interesting brew, just with ramp, try to get as many lands out as possible, and then cast Jolrael, discard 2 cards, make all your lands 3/3s, and then attack in for lethal, at least against... A lot of times you can kill everybody, because you run things like Beastmaster's Ascension and other ways to pump up all your creatures, and they become lethal quite quickly with Jolrael. So again, the power level very, very, I would say mid to low on all these commanders, but I mean that's the most I get out of the commander format. Some of the ones I'm definitely going to say goodbye to is Nahab the Eternal. This was basically, I built this to kind of combat Elf Ball, and it's a really, really fun commander to play in, again, more than 4 players. So if you're 5 or 6 players, Nahab can get out of control really quickly with dealing damage to all players, because that reads with Nahab. Then you have a ton of mana just to go off. This is probably too close to Atali. They both use many of the same different cards. That's one of the reasons why I'm downsizing my commander collection, is that just instead of running proxies in different decks, just to have an original card in one deck and not have to have a ton of overlap. Animar was a card that I built in response to other people building powerful commanders. This is the only commander precon commander that I ever built, and it's very degenerate. You can only bust Animar out when other people are playing degenerate commanders, because Animar can go off as quickly as turn 3 with the perfect draw. Cards like Earthcraft, Cloudstone Curio, and things like Food Chain make this card go insane. And there's, of course, the 2-card combo with the artifact to balance itself, and then things like Cloud of Fairies make the card go crazy too. Some of the more recent ones that I've had fun with was this the Haunt of the High Tower. I think I'm going to keep Balthor over the Haunt of the High Tower. This one's a fun one with... You can also absolutely just replace Haunt of the High Tower with the card that came out of Throne of Eldraine, the one that does damage whenever a creature goes to the graveyard from anywhere, because this is self-mill and mill your opponent type strategy, and you basically can just swap those commanders out if you want. But the Hunt of the High Tower is really fun. Very low tier commander is where it ends up being more of a Voltron based commander, because when it ever attacks, if any player discards a card, and whenever a card is put into opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you put a +1 counter on Hunt of the High Tower, so you can utilize that with multiple opponents. And this card gets huge just with any sort of card that makes your opponent's discard. You say each opponent discards 2 cards, it gets 6 counters on it. All of a sudden it's a 9/9, and there's other ways to make. It doesn't have to discard. It's whenever a card is put in opponent's graveyard from anywhere, so you can actually use like self-mill card or mill cards that mills everybody, and this card gets huge. So it is more of a Voltron. It's kind of fun, but again, it's Commanders just got to the point where like Haunted Tower is such a joke of a card, even out playing against precons. Then we have one of my favorite decks I ever built. It was not the Guilt Leaf. This was like a sacrifice control smokestack type deck where you just lock your opponents out of being able to have any cards in their hand and have any, not really doesn't destroy lands, but have any resources really get out of it at that point. So Noth was fun to play with. This was also a random commander that popped up off EDH Rec. And this is one I probably will miss, but again, there's a lot of expensive cards in this particular deck, and it's another card that works with more than 4 opponents. Like if you have 5 or 6, Noth goes a lot more crazy. So anyway, I've had a few other ones too over the years. Like Oathbreaker was quite fun. Played many of those. I'm just going to show you a couple of decks, and we'll call it good. And I'm interested in your discussion of how Commander has got into some pretty I wouldn't say heated, but a lot of people kind of like discussing what exactly they get out of Commander. A lot of other people kind of parroting what I was saying, how it's just turned too political and too degenerate. And other people, it's like just saying, okay, you just have to find the right group. But I will say I agree with that. That probably is the key for making Commander a fun experience. But as a store owner, it's just been so miserable playing pickup games, or, people need a 4th, so they'll come beg me to play. And it's just I don't know. I haven't enjoyed the format for a while. I'm kind of bitter with a lot of things in Magic lately, with Pioneer and Standard being pretty much jokes at the moment too. So I don't know. Kind of out of place right now. Built a lot of cards like Teysa here that we're going to say goodbye with. Teysa was my very first commander. One of the reasons too that I'm selling these decks is they're starting to miss pieces, because if someone wants to buy a card from me, I'll just sell it out of my commander deck, and then I forget to reorder stuff, and there you have it. So Teysa Orzhov Sign was a fun one. Just a black-white tokens. Again, I'm going to kind of miss this, but probably not too much from here. And let's just take a look at Balthor. I think that's I have a deck tech of Balthor up on my YouTube channel. Link it in the description below. Let's just take a look at Jolrael, because I think this one was an interesting one, and give you a little bit of deck tech for Jolrael, Empress of Beast. So first of all, this deck is running, I just decided to make this a very casual, and is running a ton of basic forests. I think it's like 37 basic forests. Cards like Mind's Eye in this is going to draw you cards you want something to do with your mana. And so Mind's Eye, when your opponent draws a card, you can pay 1 to draw a card. Cards like Ugin the Spirit Dragon, see there's a proxy because this is in 2 different decks, so I don't like having 2 different cards in a deck, so you just switch them in and out. Use the same sleeves, it's pretty easy to do so in Commander. But Ugin is a big payoff for then ramping up to stuff. In fact, though, it made this deck kind of disappointing, because you win with cards like Ugins and Ulamogs than you do with your own Commander. Cards like Grow from the Ashes, and you have My Elder, and those things are going to be ways to ramp, so that's another key component of the deck. You have Ursurge, it's going to give land creatures +2/+2. So look, I found a way to make this trashy card actually good in this deck, because it's going to give that boost. I got other ramp payoffs like Kozilek, Oracle Moldiah to ramp. Sylvan Advocate will give all lands also +2/+2, which is pretty cool in it. So really want to make, that's my whole theory with Commander, is to be very Commander centric. So if you build a Commander, you should definitely be using your Commander. There are plenty of other Commanders that they are kind of like iffies at this point, but I really want to maximize the potential of Jolrael. Tempest of Discovery, pretty good. Payoffs of Landfall, like the Zendikar Royal to put out 2/2s. This will force board wipes out, and then you don't want to be like turning your lands into creatures until you're ready. Another one with Thunderfoot Baloth will give all your cards +2/+2. So you just kind of see the whole overall theme of this deck. Like All is Dust won't destroy your lands, will be ramping up. And like other things like Ulamogs. Wailord Swordtooth to ramp more, Beastmaster's Ascension to give all your creatures +5/5. Card like Genesis Wave just to pump up all your creatures, and see if there's anything else that's worthwhile to talk about. And this other payoffs like Planar Bridge. You can see this is quite casual, and I'm going to miss playing this particular type of commander. Anyway, there you have it. There's my discussion on where I feel Commander is going. Again, this discussion was basically brought on by the discussion we were having on my Patreon about where the Commander, Ikoria Commander version. I'm not a fan of them. I think that Wizards once again skimped out on the mana base and the reprints. Of the 3 decks that have spoiled, the most expensive card is Fluctuator, which is going to get crushed in price. And then after that, you have Locust God and Karametra. Locust God in the scope of things wasn't that long ago. Karametra's already had some reprints, I believe. And so none of them, I think there was only three $10 cards or above cards that have been reprinted so far. Of course, there are 2 more Commander decks that are going to be spoiled, but if that's what's to come, all the value that Wizards is trying to do is going to be in the new cards. So meaning they have to really push those cards so that people don't whine and complain that they're not getting anything out of those commanders. Now, in my opinion, commander decks were meant to be introductory and also on the par of where people would still want to buy them. And I think that, in my opinion, if I were to build them, I'd put a lot of staples to make $100 value or whatever you wanted to make the target of the value of the commander deck, that people would want to purchase them just for the value and then give them a good start to commander. I still think the commander decks, where they get hung up is in when you build one out of the box. You do have some powerful cards in them, but the very first thing you need to do is to really maximize your potential is to fix the mana base and fix all the support cards in the decks, which these versions are really, really skimping on. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this discussion. We'll have one tomorrow as we continue our coronavirus quarantine here. And yeah, what else would you like me to discuss? I think tomorrow we're going to be talking about top 10 board games that surprise me that you don't judge a book by its cover. There have been some wonky board games that I just bought out of bargain bins and what else, and end up being some of my favorites. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And if you have anything you'd like to ask me to cover, we can actually cover that as well. Like kind of a long, rambly video. Maybe if we can figure out how to do these lives, we can do these lives in the future. This has been Kevin with Gone Rogue Games and Rogue Deck Builder and Rogue Market and all the other million projects I'm working on. Thanks for watching.